Hey guys, Tez here, and I've got another Monster Hunter game for you today. It's a quest, it's killing a Dobo, or capturing a Dobo. That's the short name for it. The long name is something like Dobo, Buru, Boku, or something stupidly ridiculous like that. But we call it the Dobo. Short, it's easy to say, and you don't need to spend ages calling it its full name. So this is kind of just like a highlight, essentially a highlight video of the fight that me and my brother did against it. I show you the entire first area, and then I cut out major parts of it, because it is literally just rinse and repeat, and that's kind of most of what happens in this game. You kind of find a way to fight against the monster, and then you just do the same thing over and over and over again until it's dead. But it sounds really boring, but it's really, really not. And I do hope you can't hear, like, there's a bunch of builders building a house, like, literally one house down the road from me, and they're kind of making a bit of a racket, so hopefully you can't hear that. I mean, if you can, when I go back and rewatch it, then I'll obviously close the windows and redo it, but hopefully you won't be able to hear it. So why I decided to speak over this video or commentate this video is because although I kind of touched a little bit on about what this game is about in the last video of this, I didn't really tell you about what kind of difference and variance you can have in weapons and armor and stuff, so I thought I'd go a bit more into detail than that. First things first, I'm using a hammer. It's kind of a bit obvious to see. It's like the biggest, bluntest object, and you literally just smack a monster and hope it dies. Where I think there's like 11 weapon classes. I'm probably going to forget one, and then I'll remember it halfway through, and yes, that massive gigantic monster just flew in the air. I don't know how it's possible. I think gravity and physics don't apply in this game, which is fine by me because it's one hell of a fun game. So you got the first weapon class is the greatsword, and that's been like in Monster Hunter since the very first one. A few weapon types have been added in, and I'll point those out when I'm kind of like speaking about them. But first things first, the greatsword, that's one of the main weapons. Then you have, I think it's called a long sword. That's like a ninja sword kind of thing, like thin and long. Yeah, that probably sounded really bad, but it's like a thin sword, and it's quite a long one, and I think that was introduced in Freedom 2, or yeah, it was definitely introduced in Freedom 2, and that's a cool weapon choice. I used to use that a lot. You then have the switch axe, and that's new to this game. It was introduced in Monster Hunter Tri, which is the Wii game, but it's brand new in this game for the PSP. Like, it's never been in a PSP title before. After that, you've got the sword and shield. That's been in the game since the very first on PlayStation 2. That's what my brother's using in this quest. He's using this monster's sword and shield, basically. And then you've got the dual swords. Now, I believe those have also been in since the very original game, and I've been using dual swords a lot in this one. I think the dual swords and hammer are the two main weapon types that I've been using. But you've also got the hammer, which I'm using, and then that's been in since the very original, and the hunting horn, which is kind of different. You like hold it over your shoulder, and you run with like the short handle end over your shoulder in front of you, and then you've got the big like club-like thing on the end behind you, and you swing it at the monster and stuff like that. And that's been introduced in Freedom 2 as well. After that, you've got the lance. That's been in there since the very original. You've got the gun lance, which is essentially a lance with the ability to shoot bullets out of it. That's been in there since Monster Hunter Freedom 2. And finally, you've got heavy bowgun, which has been in since the original. Light bowgun, which has also been in since the original. And then finally, a bow. And that was introduced in Freedom 2 as well. So the only real new weapons in this most recent title are the switch axe. I think that's it. Yeah, I think switch axe is the only new weapon for this game, or introduced in this game. Like I said, it was obviously in Monster Hunter Tri, but I thought I'd kind of tell you about those weapons. And in the background you can see another flipping blue bear, which is there for hindrance rather than something that's actually going to kill you. And I throw a dunk bomb at it and I miss. I think I missed with it like twice. I'm really bad at aiming with these things, but I eventually hit it, and then I actually make it leave into the area that the Dobo just left, which sucks. So right here is where I'm going to cut out. If you look at like the clock in the top left hand corner, I will skip for about 5 minutes, 5.5 minutes or something, and you will see it fighting in a different area. That's a kind of cool transition then. I didn't actually make that happen, but it kind of faded in and faded out and then faded in the next area. That was cool. So this is, I think this is area like, I don't even know, 4 or something. It's a pretty big area, and it's kind of really nice to fight Dobo in big areas, because obviously the monster's so big. If you fill it in like a small area, it would be hard to kind of get your bearings and be able to see it very easily. But this is, I think, halfway through the fight. I don't think I cut much out until we kill it, so it should be alright. And right here, I don't think we actually managed to break the tail in the last area I just showed. But you can scar or chip the tail, like you can see there, and you can also mine it, and you get like an item from this monster. And I think I'm checking here and I just get like a carapace, which sucks because you want this item called a Dobo Sacrum, and they're really rare as well. And like normal, I haven't got any, but Dan's a dick. He's got them. He gets every rare thing. Like, we were playing yesterday, I think, and we did 2 Dobos, we did 2 Diablos, and we did 2 Devil Joes. I think he might have got a rare item from 1 or 2 of the quests, and then there's me who just gets the average crap, so I never get the good stuff. So I have to fight each monster like 5,000 times just to get what I need. But that's besides the point. I think I'm going to go back to the weapons, and then maybe I'll talk about the armors and stuff in like a completely different video. But the weapons, they all work differently. Obviously you can see me just going for certain parts on the body, and we've broken the back. It looks like chipped and stuff, and the hammers actually do 96% of their damage when you're hitting Dobo's back in that area. And it's kind of cool, like the website that we use, which is MHP3.com, we use that kind of gives us loads of information about monsters' weak spots and where. Oh, I actually managed to break the tail. That's the second break on the tail. The back part of the tail actually comes completely off, and then you can carve that. But like I was saying, MHP3.com, that's what we use to find out what all the items are, like Japanese words. We find out what the English translations of those are, and it helps with like the items you need to create weapons and also like create armor pieces. So that's a really interesting website and really cool, like that it helps you. And it also tells you what the monster's weak to. Like, I think there's 5 main elements that your weapons can have. One being fire, the next being ice, then water, then thunder, and then dragon. And it tells you what element the monster's weak to. As my cat lays a trap right next to mine, so they both get used because my cat's an idiot. But you find out what the monster is most weak to, and then you take whatever element that is. If you have a weapon that has that element, then obviously you use it because you'll be doing extra damage to it, and you'll kill it quicker. And if you don't, then you just take a raw damage weapon and pound on it until it dies. So there's like 5 different elements, and obviously the monster's weak to 1, 2, or maybe even 3 of those elements. And that website will tell you which is pretty cool. And also it tells you the monster's weak spots and how much damage is kind of dealt in percentage to that weak spot. Because I think the weapon I have has like 195 damage, and it has a sharpness rating of white, and white is the strongest or the best sharpness you can get in this game. And as you can see, just at the top left underneath like this yellow bar, which is your stamina bar, it's showing like a sword and like a blue tinge to it. That's because my weapon has blue sharpness at the moment, and obviously I would sharpen to bump it up to white again. And each different sharpness type has a different multiplier, and then at the end of the day, like the game is working out in its little head or whatever, the damage formula for your weapon, where you're hitting on the monster, the element you have, the sharpness you have, all these different things factor into how much damage you're actually doing to it. And the website MHP3.com will tell you where the monster's most weak and where you would like get the most damage kind of that you're doing to it. And on this particular monster, I think you do 96% damage on the monster's back. If you break it, you do 96%. Before it's broken, I think you do something like 60 odd. But it's really cool in that way because you can amazingly reduce the amount of time that you're fighting the monster by just hitting it in its weak spots. And it's just such a fun game. Like, there's so many things that are really good about it. Like, there's so many weapons you can use. There's literally hundreds of weapons. There's not hundreds of one type of weapon. Like, there's not hundreds of different, as my brother dies because he sucks. No, I'm joking. But there's not hundreds of types of hammer. There's like hundreds and hundreds of types of weapon, and there might be like 15 to 20 end like upgrade hammers. And each monster, I think they have their own like upgrade to go down with most weapons. Some like higher up monsters or rarer monsters like this and the Devil Joe, these only have like 5 weapon types, like a hammer, there's a lance, a bow, a gun. I can't remember them all, but each monster kind of, you use its items. I think I'll leave the area here because the tail's about to hit me. But each monster has its own type of item, obviously, and then you use those items to make guns. And say I was fighting that Rathalos from the last video, that would give me a weapon with a fire element, and then I would go and use that fire element weapon on, say, let me think of it, a Giganox, which you haven't seen yet, but you probably will see, and that is weak to fire. So all of these monsters and all of the weapons are kind of interlocked in a certain way, and it just makes the game so much more fun. But this is coming up to the end of the video. We trapped this one as well just to reduce the time that it takes to finish the quest, and I do my little dance again. My brother like trank bombs it so it goes to sleep, and then we've finished the quest. It took us about, I don't know, actually about 17 minutes or something, which isn't bad. It's not the best, but there was only 2 of us, and this monster has ridiculous amount of health. I soloed it myself like the day before, and it took me half an hour to finish it, but we did it fairly quickly in this one, so that wasn't too bad. And I've cut the video down so it's only like 12 minutes long, but hopefully you did enjoy the video. Obviously if you got bored, then I apologise. Just let me know what I can do to make these better, and yeah, hopefully you enjoy the next few videos of this that I put out in the near future. And again, I leave the items in that I get in case anybody wants to know, and I don't think I get anything rare. I quickly check here. I think that's the low rank Sacrum version or something, but again, no rare items for me. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed, and I'll speak to you next time.